Hi, good evening, folks. In this video, we're going to take a look at what potential goalies could the Sabres target with an offer sheet. Coming up. Yes, I know the chances are slim this will happen, but there's always the possibility. And I came up with 5 goalies that are RFA. And sorry, guys, I'll get it done ahead of time this time. That are RFA goalies right now that we could target. And number one, I'd be 100% for it if we could, because I don't see why the Sabres should have any mercy. I know it's not the greatest thing, offer sheets, and yes, it doesn't leave a good rapport with other general managers, but they do happen from time to time because, let's face it, the team comes first, you know, it does. And if we were able to get something that made 100% sense, I think we should look at this option. So let's take a look, okay? And I want to get back to the game, but I did want to make this video tonight. This will probably be the only one I'm going to make tonight, guys, because this one might take a little time. We're going to look at it. We're going to break it down. Okay, first let's look at the table of the compensation, okay? Here's the first clip, and then we'll look at the 5 goalies that I singled out. And tell me what you think. I mean, I'm 100% for number one. I'm all in. I'm all in. But let's look at the table first. Here we go. Okay, so this is the rates, I guess you could say right now. The forget the middle column, guys. That's just the price gone up, basically, the tier price going up. But let's take a look on the left side. Okay, this is the amounts. And then in the third column, that's the compensation we'd have to give up. So we will start with the second one, whereas 1.38 million to 2.1, we'd have to give up a third rounder. That's not a big deal, right? I mean, then you go 2.1 to 4.2, you have to give up a second rounder. And this is where it starts to get interesting, right here. And this is, I think this and the next pro rate is where we would be targeting if we did. 4.2 to 6.3 million annual average would cost us a first rounder and a third rounder. If we took it up a notch higher and we went 6.3, well, it would be probably 31, not 230, but 31 to at the end. If you notice 230 and then the other column's 230, that must be a mistake, I'm guessing, or it's just the way they made it. Anyway, 6.3 to 8.4, we'd have to give up a first, a second, and a third. Now, this is where you get, you know, this is where I think a lot of us would not want to go near. You go and you send, unless it's somebody like Austin Matthews or something, right? You know, it'd have to be somebody that, but 8.4 to 10.5 million, you have to give up 2 firsts, a second, and a third. 10.5 million and up, 4 first-round picks you have to give. I'm thinking along the lines, guys, of the 4.2 between 6.3, okay, with my number 1 pick. This is what I'm thinking. We could land this, this goalie maybe for $6 million a year. So we're going to look at that. I've got the 5 listed out, and it's not the most exciting list, okay, but I think some of these guys, we could just outright get them in a cheap trade also, without having to make the bad blood of doing the offer sheet, you know? But for the number 1 on this list, there's absolutely no way. There's no way. We'd have to offer sheet him. It's the only way. All right, here we go, number 5. Alexander Georgiev, okay? And I know that a lot of Sabres fans probably get angry when they see this name, because the Rangers fans, for some ungodly reason, thought we were going to trade Jack Eichel with this guy as part of the package and Strome, and they thought they were going to give us these guys for Eichel. Oh my God, no, Ranger fans, no, wasn't happening. But if you look at his career numbers, 131 games, 2.93 goals against average, 8 shutouts, a .909 save percentage. In the playoffs, he did pretty good in this 59 minutes he was in, a .935. He let in, he had 2 goals against in how many, 29 shots. You know, has he had a real fair sample I don't know. You know, I just don't know what to think there, really. Has he had a fair sample or not? Or he had, oh yeah, I'm surprised they're looking at 935. I'm trying to figure that out, guys, because that, to be honest, doesn't make... No, I guess it does. Okay. Yeah, it does. Okay, so, and if you look at his body of work, though, last year, 33 games, 898, you know? No wonder the Ranger fans want to move this guy. I just don't think he'd be on our radar, guys. But he's one of the main 5, really, that are out there that are RFA, just so you know. I think he'll get a home somewhere. I just don't think he's on our radar, because this guy would probably have to cost like $3 million, you know, a year. Can't see it. Number 4, here we go. Okay, Kapil Kakanin. His numbers aren't too bad. They're not too bad. 65 career games, 2 shutouts, a 2.88 goals against, and a .908 save percentage. Very similar numbers as Georgiev, basically. And if you look down below, he had 25 games for the Wild this year, 2.87. Then he went over to San Jose, and then San Jose, 2.86. You know what I mean? It's very similar. 910 save percentage, 916. Pretty much very similar stats. I don't think this guy would either be on our radar, but yeah, I'm just showing you guys the options that are out there, really. The best 5 options. These are the top 5 options. RFA, not UFA. Don't get mixed up. Okay, folks? Not UFA. We're not talking UFA. This is strictly RFA if we were to hit an offer sheet. Now it gets a little interesting. Let's take a look. Okay. Ilya Samsonov. And you've heard me say I'm not the craziest guy about this goalie. I'm just not. He's looked brilliant one night and then he looks bad the next. I don't know. Maybe it's a confidence thing with him. I'm not sure. He is 25 now. And if you look in the playoffs, you see he played 5 games, 2.97 goals against, a .912 save percentage, which wasn't bad considering it was Florida and their offense. But again, career numbers, 94 games, 6 shutouts, a 2.82 goals against average, and a .903 save percentage. Not the greatest numbers again. But I could see him being a potential target still. I could. But for an offer sheet, you know what I mean? Is Samsonov worth going out there for Adams, wrecking his reputation with other GMs, really, to go and do that? It's not worth it. But I'm thinking these 3 also probably are potentially available in trades. I mean, if, you know, they would, you know, trade the rights over to us, I mean, probably not for very much either. Pickings are slim, guys. Even with RFAs, pickings are slim. All right, here's number 2. Vidtech Vanicek. And we know him very well as Sabres fans. This guy seems to have our number every time we play them for some reason. I like this goalie. I like what I've seen when he plays against us. And I've made sure to watch him in other games as well, trying to figure out why this guy always does so well against us, it seems, every time we play Washington. But if you look at his first 2 years, very, very similar numbers, you know? 269 goals against in his rookie season and a .908 save percentage, and backed it up this year with a 267 goals against average and a .908 save percentage once again. In the playoffs, he only played so long. I mean, he only played so many minutes, right? 100 minutes. He played 100 minutes. His goals against was .421. His save percentage was .863. Now, mix that in. Where are we? Let's look at the bottom. Sorry, guys, I'm half awake. But mix that in, because they've mixed it in now on this website. They've mixed, if you notice, it says 2021 22P. That's for playoffs. So 81 games, 81 career games, 271 goals against average, a .907 save percentage. I like this goalie. I like him. I'd be happy if we got him. I don't think, again, we would need to do too much to get him. Unless they're going to go with Samsonov in their future Washington. That's why both capital goalies, I'm very, very curious to see what they're going to do this offseason. But Vanicek would be the guy I would target if I had a choice of him or Samsonov. I would target Vanicek. All right, number one, without a doubt, guys. Okay, going back to that table, I would be willing to give up. What was it? It was a first and a second, right? Sorry, a first and a third. I'd be willing to give up a first and a third round pick to get this guy. Here we go. And Jake Ottinger, and yes, I am still living in the past with what he just did in the playoffs. He was just outstanding in this playoffs, just outstanding. I mean, look at that series. He had a 1.81 goals against, a shutout, a .954 save percentage, giving Calgary fits, absolute fits in that series. But take a look at his numbers. Look at 2021, and you see 29 games played, a shutout, 2.36 goals against average, a .911 save percentage, good numbers. The next year, 48 games played this time. And he has a 2.53 goals against, a .914 save percentage, and then, of course, this big, big playoff that he just had. I mean, my goodness, it would have been fun to see this guy move on. And as you see on the top, he was a first-round pick to start with in 2017. 6'5", 220-pounder. This would be the guy I would target, and when it comes to the RFA. For RFA, let's be very clear. Not the UFA. That'll be a separate video, guys, or else it'll be a half-an-hour video. I don't want to do that. You're all watching hockey right now. So Ottinger would be the guy I'd target if we're going to do an offer sheet this offseason. In goaltending, okay? I'm going to do this for defensemen, and I'm going to do it for forwards also. I'm going to make those videos separate also. But we'll start with the goaltending. The next one will be defensemen, and I'll work my way up front with the forwards at the end. I think the Sabres, if they want to make a statement to the entire league, okay, is yes, they should target somebody. If they're going to do an offer sheet, really do one, then make sure it's a goaltender or a defenseman. The forwards, we're pretty stacked in forwards. Yeah, we could still use some help, but we're still pretty stacked. We're good. Even defensemen, we're good. Goaltending, we're hurting. We're hurting big time, guys. This, to me, would be a prime target, you know? And if we would offer him, I don't know, 5 years at $6 million a year, he looks like the real deal, guys. His career numbers, his playoffs, what he did in the playoffs. I think this is the real deal. He's a first-round pick, this guy. He's, you know, and it looks like, I hope the Sabres, guys, with regardless what we do here when it comes to goaltending this offseason, get a first-round, take one of our first-rounders and get a goalie this time around. Enough with this trying to draft goalies in the 5th round thing. It's not the brightest idea. It's just not. You want to get a stud, you got to pay the price, you know? Get it in the 1st round. We've got in the minors. We're good. We are right now. But now that it's up in the air with the whole Levi thing and the Portillo thing, we got to cover ourselves too still, right? And you can never have enough goalies because teams are always going to want them in trades anyway, and we can use them as trade pieces, all sorts of things. All right, that's it. I just wanted to throw out the Ottinger idea at you guys because it's been rolling in my head. I think the Sabres should consider, if they're going to do an offer sheet, targeting somebody like Ottinger, because that would be the perfect piece, I think, for our goaltending crisis at this point. Just my thoughts, guys. Have a good night, guys. If I don't see you tonight, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.